Good afternoon, hero tribesmen. How are we all? Dan, how are you?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, doing well, doing really, really well. Just homeward bound, as I'm sure a lot of us Melbourneites are. How are you going? You got some children fluttering around the place?
Yeah, there's a lot of activity here. I've got a quiet little space for the moment, so going to enjoy this. Perfect opportunity to get on a Facebook Live. We've got a lot of hero dads in and around Victoria, so feeling for everyone and those around Australia. I hope you're enjoying some nice freedom. But ultimately, there's freedom everywhere, and this is just a different version of it. So
And
it's
I've also got to say, look, I know businesses are being affected everywhere, and people's lives are being affected in a very intimate way. But it's really, I think it's quite a beneficial experience to look at the positives that you can get out of, especially a brief period, hopefully, of lockdown, like a 5-day period. And I can only use my own experience to really illustrate this. Friday finished what was for me an particularly intense period of my life. It was just no other way to explain it but busy. Lots to do, zero spare time on my behalf. My sister got married on Friday afternoon and evening, and her party finished 59 minutes before lockdown started, which is perfect timing on her behalf. But what that presented for me was just an opportunity to just wipe the slate clean and just to kind of look within and use the time that I would have spent perhaps socializing or going out for dinners or, fluttering my social butterfly wings around the city to really just kind of, as I said before, just like take a moment to have a moment to look within and reset. And that's exactly what I'm choosing to do with this next period of time. Have you chosen to use this period yourself or anything there?
Yeah, I am just so happy to have this time back in lockdown. Um, there's just a quality about being at home that I find really um, nourishing. And I mean, it's so family oriented, and that's a really special thing, especially with busy lives, to just create that space and spend that quality time, like with my wife or two young daughters. It feels luxurious, and at the same time there are so many things personally I want to do as well. So having the book really close by whenever there is a moment to get into some reading, I want to bring that back in, um, just to the daily rhythm. And actually, just yoga is such a big part of my life, and my wife too. And we've just started just to bring that in more regularly. And our daughters are just kind of crawling around the mat. Lula, who's 2 and a bit, she's got her own mat, so she likes to participate as well. And I have to say, she's really developing her down dogs and her planks and up dogs. And it's amazing because we've never actually gone through anything with her, but because we're doing it, she's doing it. And so that's really great. And I don't know, there's just something about doing things and then just seeing how the kids get involved and how they interact. It just proves the power of being an example and demonstrating a healthy lifestyle and just keeping active. It's like yesterday, Lula and I, we just started rolling the ball to each other, and it was the first time we've ever done that. And I love playing sport, and it was just so good how it's like for 2 years I've been kind of like, just peppering that kind of ball sport world in and around her. It hasn't really clicked. And then yesterday it just clicked, and she's like, let's go outside and play basketball. And we were just having a good time doing that. And then she wanted to chase the ball, and I was trying to kick it away from her. And we were just having a great time. And it just kind of clicked because there's always lots of things around our place that inspires and empowers kind of activity and healthy habits.
It's awesome. And I like my experience of this weekend pass is mirrored yours really similarly. Uh, my daughter recently had her third birthday, and her parents-in-law got her, sorry, her grandparents got her like some gymnastics rings. It's actually a really beautiful thing. I'll put it on the Hero Tribe page. I think just the journey of this little piece of real estate that's taken place, because it started when she was only a little baby, where they got this swing for her, and it was this little bucket seat, and she's honestly been on it ever since she could sit up straight. And that's kind of graduated into a more independent swing, where it's just kind of a malleable piece of plastic, and it's still attached to the same position, where she can now hang more liberally and use her legs to swing back and forth as she becomes more capable. And now her third birthday has come around, and we've got this kind of a trapeze on top of it with a couple of gymnastics rings attached below. And just to watch her intuitively move around these rings, moving now from a one arm into a one arm hang in this trapeze, which has just been knocking my socks off completely. I mean, for me, it just fills me with complete joy. And I I just got my own gymnastics rings, tied them up next to hers, and all of a sudden we're like father and daughter doing gymnastics work together, which just brims my heart like you wouldn't believe. And then we started moving onto the grass, and I was teaching her how to roll appropriately. And at the beginning she was rolling onto her neck, and I was showing, no, you have to go onto your shoulder. And these are the things that I never really anticipated would happen, but when I'm doing them, it just fills me with so much joy. So I completely understand where you're coming from, Dan.
Mm. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's so nice. And that's the benefit of being home. Lots of opportunity to connect with family. So a very special thing. So as always, a Monday accountability call.
Yes.
We had a few topics come up over the weekend with some clients. So I'm just going to read a question that came up, and Paulie, let's see if we can bring some clarity and shed some light. So it was, do you guys have any advice about how to get better recovery in during the work week? And he's specifically talking about recovery when it comes to like the bodily aches and pains and sensations after doing lots of training. So, Paulie, any thoughts and anything you wanted to share?
Well, this hero dad's on a strength protocol, so he's really putting, we've separated his movements into various different body expressions. And I suppose when it comes to a certain day, this hero dad really is just feeling a little bit sore and tender by, I feel it's like the Wednesday mark. And obviously for a number of reasons, he's had a couple of days where he's been going strong. And there's a couple of strategies I would recommend that would be a wonderful thing to be able to kind of address these aches and pains. The first is hydration is not to be underestimated. Hydration doesn't simply just, give you more water into your system. It's a massive detoxifier. And all the DOMS and delayed onset muscle soreness, the more water you drink, the more you pee, the more the toxins come through and out of your system, and you just feel like you're actually replenishing your body, in a certain way. Going for long walks as well is just going to expose your body once again to the right amount of oxygen, and allowing that blood to flow through your system in a reparative manner. So even though you may not feel like it the day after, getting up and going for a walk and allowing that oxygen to move through your system is going to be such a beneficial way for you to just get into that next gear that you need to be able to. And finally, last but not least, like a really solid mobility warm-up before you actually get started is going to be a great way to lubricate your muscles, your not just your passive tissue, but your active tissue in between your muscles and your bones, your skeleton as well, to be able to lubricate that so you're feeling a little bit more ready. And then I know I said the last one was the last one, but this is really the last one, and a really important one is, regardless of how you feel after you've done all of that, if you're still feeling like you're up against it, it's just taking that first step, just going into it and just trusting that this is the process that has been set out for you. And I guarantee you that once you have delved yourself 5 minutes into the process, you're going to feel so much better. And I always say, I've never regretted doing a workout. I've never finished a 25-minute workout and gone, I wish I hadn't done that.
Yeah, there was a lot of really good stuff there, very practical things that you can do. So hopefully that supports everyone that listens to this. I know for myself, and when I'm coaching people, I like to, well, in my experience is this, and I'd love to share this too, is like the cure for sore legs is more squats. So I always enjoy, just feeling the full force of the training sessions that I do. I think, it's quite amazing. I'm like just reflecting on this right now. I don't really experience so much soreness these days, and that might be just because of the consistency with which I train. It also might be when I train, like I don't have a specific time of day that I do train. I mean, my schedule's pretty unpredictable, and so it might be a morning one day, and then it will be the next day in the afternoon or even in the evening. So there is more time and space there. But what's really essential, and just to add to some of Paul's really important points, is early nights, like especially if you're waking up early and if you're training early and that's part of your schedule. I think recovery comes a lot from the kind of sleep that you have and the quality sleep that you have. So really prioritizing that, which means, no screen time at a certain point, even dimming the lights and keeping it really, keeping the atmosphere nice and relaxed, just has a power in and of itself. So I don't think that can be underestimated either. Just what your environment looks like in the evening. Like, is it heightened? Is it charged with, electricity, technology, amplification of things, whether it's, internal or external? But like, just look at what your evening routine is. And, at times, maybe a light stretch before bed can be really helpful. And I think the importance also, and I just know this for myself, like when we say stretching and mobility, like I'm referring to holding lots of stretches, like holding for 30 seconds. It's like a really long time. I mean, it's not, but like for most of us, and I've been, this has been my experience too for so long. It's like, I'll just do like a quad stretch, like 3 seconds, and like that's a stretch. But like really to ask yourself, are you really getting the maximum value out of the stretch, or are you just doing it because I need to stretch? So maybe looking at that a little bit more in depth and seeing like, am I really holding these poses? I practice a lot of like restorative and yin yoga, and that's really about holding poses for 3 to 5 minutes. And to me, that's where I get maximum relief and benefit. And if I do that every single day, or at least a few times a week, my body just recovers unbelievably well, so that the next day I just wake up and I feel, I know in the morning how I'm going by how my back is. If my back's tight, if I'm really unable like to, bend down and put my shoes on because I haven't been loosened from the night before, I haven't done anything during that, early morning session, that's where I feel it most. So like that really dictates what I need to focus on and how to get myself mobile and able to just kind of get through the day in the most easeful way. So just some markers that you've got on your day or in your body should really dictate the kind of training load that you do, and also the kind of recovery work that you do too. So I guess, just to sum that up, one of the takeaways would be look at your stretching pattern and how long do you actually hold that, and then try and expand that for a little bit longer and see what the benefit is there.
All incredibly valuable points. And, sleep especially, that is just, it's such an ingredient to recovery that so many people neglect. You know, there are so many studies out there that are just in neon lights saying if you don't get the right amount of sleep, your hormones will suffer. And if your hormones are suffering, your body just doesn't stand a chance at recovery. It just doesn't. So you need to be able to allow yourself not even the privilege, the right to be able to give yourself that time to rest and recover. And, you know, creating that environment before sleep is so important. And you're right, you know, like using the dimmers on your side lights as opposed to your fluoro lights above, it seems once again like a really innocuous kind of action to take, but it's such an important thing. Another thing that came to mind for me, which, you know, I know a lot of us can struggle with, especially on the weekends, is nutrition. Everything that you expose your body to, absolutely everything. You know, if we're talking about light that we expose your body to, imagine what happens if you're, you know, if you're smashing burgers and beers on a weekend. You know, your body is going to take a beating. I'm not saying don't do it every now and again, but just know the effect that it's going to have on your body and on your mind when you do it. You can't expect to wake up the next day feeling the perfect picture of health if you are having, you know, cheese toasties and Ben and Jerry's at nighttime. It's just not going to happen. You're putting toxins into your system, you're putting sugar into your system, and you've got to give yourself the greatest opportunity. And that's what you got to ask yourself first. It's like, if I'm feeling sluggish the next day, go through this checklist that we created just now, just spontaneously, me and Dan. Go through everything that we said and say, am I contributing the best I possibly can? And the answer inevitably is going to be no for all of it in terms of the entire list. But think about what's the lowest hanging fruit? What can you take from there and say, I can easily make this better. I can easily be more responsible for my health by addressing this point.
Yeah, I just to kind of wrap this up, I guess an element that you brought up that really needs to be voiced here is reflection and presence and that self-awareness, and that works in conjunction with nutrition, sleep, stretching, lifestyle habits too, because if they aren't really dialed in, then you can't really expect to be flourishing and thriving with your body, with your health physically and mentally, emotionally and spiritually. So I feel just to take a moment and reflect on that, and then come back, as Paul said, to just like that little checklist of, you know, what are the easiest things, the most simple things that you can activate today to make a change to some areas where it feels like you're essentially below 5 in terms of grading yourself out of 10, 10 being, you know, thriving and just dominating, and 0 being struggling. So like if you're kind of 5 and under, that might be an opportunity to say, well, hang on, what needs to change and what can I do? And really also like, what am I prioritizing? I think that's such an important question that can often get missed, is like, you know, where are we prioritizing spending our time and energy and our focus, because that is just so essential. And I think that is a daily reflection that all of us can have. I know when I'm doing it regularly, you know, some of the decisions I make change immediately. And I think this is a reminder for me as well, like the importance of, you know, what went well and what would make today great, and looking at those actions and just always, you know, moving towards them, rather than, you know, just like trying to not do things, move towards the things that are going to, you know, upgrade your life.
And it's a chicken and the egg scenario. You know, often it's like making poor nutrition choices and going to bed late. You're not going to want to wake up the next day and do exercise. And likewise, if you're not doing exercise, you're probably going to be more inclined to make poor nutrition choices. So really, it's just about taking action somewhere and watching it. Firstly, taking action. Secondly, being intentional about it as well. Like you were saying before, reviewing your past actions and being intentional about how you can actually address it in the future. And then understanding and appreciating that action somewhere will have a flow on effect and bleed into other aspects of your life.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. That is the end of the accountability call for this week. We're loving it and looking forward to more and more of you joining live each week. But it's amazing that you get to enjoy these recordings too. So if you've got any thoughts, feedback, any questions, just pop them in the chat box and we'll explore them at another time. But yeah, feel free to stay in touch. And then
we do have. We've got a few eyes on the Facebook Live. Just wondering who might be present. Just before we go, Dan, I know we were wrapping things up. I just wanted to see if anybody was out there, wanted to say g'day and catch up on some accountability that we have been talking about over the last week. Are any of these eyes willing to reveal themselves? All right. Well, it's been a really good chat, Dan. I think those of you who have been able to watch it live, I hope you got some value out of it. And those of you who get to check out the replay, please let us know what you think. It's been great to just have a yarn together anyway, Dan.
I love it. Always do. All right. Catch you next time. Thanks, Paulie.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Dan.